So I really do want to talk about women in the workplace, Vanessa, because as women who are sort of rising up the corporate ladder, we sort of get these very mixed messages. You know, if you are too warm as a woman, too sort of friendly, you're seen to sort of be not leadership material. I see you nodding ahead. And at the same time, if you're too direct, you're not seen to be a team player. You know, you can be ambitious, but not too ambitious, or at least not publicly ambitious. So what gives here? How do you navigate, whether you're an entrepreneur and you're leading a company, whether you're rising up the corporate ladder, how do you navigate this mixed messages that a lot of women get sent?
We're operating in this very narrow valley, right, where we have to be not, as you mentioned, too warm, not too competent. There's a myth, though, that I think is very helpful here, which is that if a woman is competent, she couldn't possibly be warm. And that's a very common myth, that if you're competent, you're cold. The good news is what the research shows, that gap disappears if a woman shows very clear warmth. And warmth is not about toxic positivity or fake smiling. Warmth is signaling, along with competence, I have a plan, so you can rely on me, but also you can trust me. So if we add back those warmth signals, it actually acts as sort of a superpower, that it leverages our competence as well as our warmth.
One thing that a lot of people in the workforce and outside of the workforce really find distasteful is a lack of authenticity. And you note that the sort of view of approaching a job that you may not be that comfortable with, but I'm going to fake it till I make it, that's a slippery slope. So just talk about walking into a job that perhaps you may not know all the skills needed at that moment, but are confident that you can learn them quickly, while at the same time not wanting to give off an air of inauthenticity.
I think there's kind of a side door into competence and confidence, which is planning. And this works really well for introverts, as well as if you have that sort of imposter syndrome where you don't feel like you hit the skills perfectly. We often have this mistaken belief that we have to be perfect in every area of those skills. But actually, if we come in with a plan, specifically your first 5 words, if we can nail our first impression, it actually makes the entire meeting, the negotiation, the pitch much easier. So our first 5 words, having a plan for that. This is the most overlooked one. Our very first question. Oftentimes we give away, we come across as fake if we're like, how are you? Or we have that sort of cheerful, isn't it beautiful outside? What's actually better is coming with a plan for a very specific question. Think about your first 5 words so that you can find windows into competence with a plan. If you have a blueprint for conversation, a blueprint for how your first impression is going to be, it sets you up for a very easy meeting.
I want to talk about AI because, you know, obviously a lot of the conversation around AI is centered around it's coming for my job. You know, what do I need to do to have a plan B, et cetera, et cetera. And it's a really sort of, it's a really difficult position to be in because as a society, we're in this in-between stage. We don't really know what's on the horizon. It sort of feels as though, you know, in terms of trying to find other careers or other jobs, it's almost like trying to turn around the Titanic when we have no idea where the iceberg is. We don't know if we've already hit the iceberg. We don't know if the iceberg is still coming. We don't know if we have 3 months out until we hit the iceberg. And so just that really sort of difficult situation that we as a society are trying to navigate. We know there is an iceberg, but we have no idea when or where we're going to hit it. So just explain to us, how do we maintain our humanity? What is the sort of insurance policy that we as humans need to develop to prepare ourselves in this age of AI?
So we have to think of soft skills, our career insurance against AI. And the way that I want you to think about it is that there are micro social skills. Yes, we can think about being likable or charismatic, but what's going to differentiate humans at work, our workplace communication, is these micro skills: being a great storyteller, being able to calm down a difficult client, being able to speed read someone, being able to psychologically interview someone so you can predict success. I think that we have to begin to think about what are the micro skills that make us human, that in the room, on video, in person, AI cannot replicate. The more we can invest in those micro skills and actually tease out what are the micro skills that could help me succeed in this job or this role, and also thinking about our companies as roles by strength. If we have a hiring manager, we don't want them to accidentally hire their exact same personality. Can they identify what are the social strengths in this role, both internally and externally? I think this is going to transform the way we talk about soft skills at work.
And this is where we could really see an opening and an advantage for women, because even coming into this conversation with you, we talk about the increase in entrepreneurship among women coming out of college, women switching careers from the corporate world to starting their own businesses. If we do end up seeing AI turn into this massive game changer that so many are literally betting on and predicting, just give us a sense and tell our viewers the opportunities that could exist, in particular for women, to be their own bosses.
Women are incredibly good at task switching. So we are very good at having a breadth of a variety of skills that we're very good at. And we are going to excel in this era, especially because when you think about how women operate, they can have very high EQ, very good emotional intelligence. They can have very good social intelligence, so the ability to read faces, understand emotion, but they also could have a deep understanding of how AI is flowing across an organization. So this could be conquering information silos. This could be matching roles to strength. This could be in entrepreneurship, especially. Entrepreneurs are doing every role, right? They're a little bit CEO, a little bit marketing. And this is where women thrive. We are very good at picking up skills in each area. And this kind of brings us back to what we were talking about earlier, which is if we can have competence in a variety of areas, it means that we can have a plan for each of those areas. We don't necessarily have to have a perfect knowledge of how a job is run. As an entrepreneur, we're going to need to know a little bit about everything. I think that we're going to really thrive with AI as our co-pilot, AI as our co-partner, and I think that's going to help female entrepreneurs do more even faster.